Welcome to No Broken Legs podcast. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me as always is Jimmy Champ. And Jimmy, we should start off today by wishing someone a happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to Kelly Champ, my wonderful wife. She had a birthday yesterday. She gets to celebrate today by coaching our local school's varsity bowling team in their first tournament. And God bless her for putting up with me and our friendship for a whole lot of years. So happy birthday, Kel. I hope your
Yes, happy
Texans
birthday,
not
Kel.
like dogs this week.
All right, well, we have one game in the books already for week 10.
Yeah.
Indy just handled Tennessee. They strike first. They have another game coming up here in a few weeks that'll really determine the AFC South.
Yeah.
Looks like Indy's defense is back, Jimmy.
Well, I think it's a little bit of Indy's defense is back, and then it's also what I continue to beat the drum on. If you sell out to stop the run and you put a safety over the top of Tennessee's big playmaker and he doesn't do Superman-like things, Ryan Tannehill is just another dude and Tennessee's not very good. Now, there are going to be times that even when you sell out to stop the run, Derrick Henry is going to be Derrick Henry, but said 3 games against top 10 run defenses where he's been bad and the Titans' offense is completely stalled out. But I still don't think the Colts' offense is good enough to beat other good offenses.
No, I think they got the best version of their offense. Rivers didn't really make any mistakes. They were able to run the ball, play from ahead. That's how Indy wants to win.
Yep.
All right, so let's start off with our slate of games here on Sunday. The first game we have is actually switching conferences to the NFC South. Tampa Bay looking to bounce back against Carolina. The Bucs are given 6 on the road. They won the first game, and they won it pretty easily. So I like the Bucs here, Jimmy. What's your play?
All right, so there are some games this week. Like, it's weird because this week there are 3 or 4 games that I had trouble even researching a little bit because I had no interest in them. And then a handful of games that I'm so interested in this week. This happens to be one of them. I am absolutely taking the Panthers at +6, even without Christian McCaffrey. I think they'll win the game outright, so I'm certainly taking them with 6 points. The money line is currently sitting at +206 for the Panthers, so that's a bet that has to be made. And this is how I came to this conclusion. In the last 3 weeks, the Panthers have lost to the Chiefs and the Saints by a field goal or less with the ball at the end of the game with an opportunity. Now, they didn't come through, but they had that opportunity. Now, in there is sandwiched a loss to Atlanta where there was weather and just some weird stuff going on. In that same stretch, the Bucs lost to the Giants, but the refs picked up a flag to save the game for them, and they got destroyed by the Saints. So I don't understand why. I don't know why I would think the Bucs are going to beat the Panthers by more than a field goal if they win the game. So I'm absolutely taking the Panthers in this one.
All right. I'm pretty much just going by what happened in the first matchup. Tampa Bay seem like a team that they beat the teams you think they're going to beat, and when you're not sure, they tend to lose those games.
I think with the exception of the Packers game, that's how their season has went. I would absolutely agree with that.
Now on to the big one of the week, the house divided game for Jimmy and Kelly. Your Browns, her Texans. I really like hearing that Chubb and Teller are probably back for this game.
Yeah.
The Browns are giving 4 points. This line jumped from 2.5. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's a field goal game, so I'm taking the Texans. The money line is currently sitting at +155, and I can absolutely see an outcome where Houston wins, so I'm making that bet too. I am so nervous for this game, and it isn't even because my wife is a huge Texans fan. I think Chubb being back helps tremendously, but except you beat Houston by throwing the football. If Bradley Roby plays, he's not been on the field much the last couple of weeks, but if he plays, I would imagine he blankets Jarvis, so that leaves every other pass catcher with a plus advantage. But will they catch the football? Like, this is a game for Baker to really shut up the critics. Now, I know then they'll come back with, he played great against a bad defense, but to me that's fine because we haven't had that for years in Cleveland, where we could take advantage of a bad defensive unit. to me, this could also be a cementing defensive player of the year game for Jurassic Miles. The Texans' offensive line is suspect. He could have a chance to really, really do damage in this game because Deshaun Watson holds on to the football. So if he keeps motoring and keeps going, he'll have a chance for sacks. Then on the flip side, you've got matchup nightmares for Cleveland's linebackers and safeties against a bunch of wily, savvy vet wide receivers who run good crossing routes. Like, if Houston's offensive coordinator was smart, he would simply target Taki and Sendeo on every play. Fortunately for us Browns fans, this guy hasn't proven to be very smart this year. I think it would take magic for Cleveland to lose this football game outright. I don't think they're beating them by 4 points, but I do think it would take magic for Houston to win. But I have a question for you, my friend.
Yes.
If this game is like within a field goal going into the fourth quarter, do you trust Baker to beat Deshaun?
I'm going to answer that question by explaining my pick. This is a game that is super important for the Browns. It's in conference. They're going to need it for tiebreakers, more than likely to get into the playoffs. This is the type of game the Browns have lost my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Browns, giving the points, and making it a lock.
A lock? I love it.
This is why.
Crazy, crazy fool.
Have you happened to glance at NFL defensive stats for the Houston Texans, Jimmy?
I have.
Do you happen to know where they rank in rush defense?
No. I'm looking more at their horrible pass defense, so I don't know exactly.
They're currently 31st. And they've played 8 games. Dallas has given up about 140 more yards, but they've played 9 games. Wyatt Teller is back. Fresh legs with Nick Chubb. We saw what happened when Delvin Cook came back for the Vikings. Yeah. The Browns want to run the football. The Texans can't stop anybody. And the only way the Browns defense comes up with stops is when Myles Garrett does something destructive. And the Texans aren't going to be able to block him today.
I agree.
I think they do just enough. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter, they're going to run the football right down Houston's throat, and they're going to win this game by a touchdown.
I love it. I hope you are right. I love it. But that makes sense. That's exactly what should happen. Let's hope it stays on script.
And I'm fully ready to look like a moron on Monday. Because they've been doing it my whole life, so what's one more week, right?
Exactly.
This game's a stinker, Jimmy.
This is one of those games.
Washington is taking on Detroit. The Lions are given 4.5. I'm taking Washington because Alex Smith is back, and it just makes me feel good to pick that team with Alex Smith on the field, but I really don't like it.
Yeah, I think the Lions win this game outright, but I don't know how anyone could pick them to beat another NFL football team other than the Jets by more than a field goal. So I'm also taking Washington at plus 4.5. If Alex Smith is healthy and he's got his football legs back, he might be the best player on the football field, depending on which Matt Stafford shows up. I also see an outcome where this is the Patricia gets fired game, so I'm also taking the Washington money line at plus 180. Like, if things just go sideways and Washington's defensive unit plays well and Alex Smith lights up the defense, I mean, I'll talk about them more in the fantasy focus, but I think Washington has a couple of key offensive pieces that can make life miserable for Detroit. I could see an outcome where Washington just wins the game. That also wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But this is one of those games that I don't want to watch a snap of it. I don't want anything to do with this football game.
Well, while I'm looking at the stats here, you know who else is really bad at stopping the run other than the Texans? The Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they're pretty bad at it too.
And just pretty bad in general overall. Yeah, I think you pretty much cover it. I don't think the Lions can be trusted to cover that many points.
No.
Staying for the Lions, they're chasing the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are taking on Jacksonville this week. There's just going to be a ton of money line parlays with Green Bay. They're getting 13.5 points here. Is this just Rodgers feasts all day?
No, I don't think so because I don't think Matt LaFleur is that coach. I think the Packers get up early and then Jamal Williams will just get a ton of carries. You may see Green Bay's backup in this one. There may be a Jordan Love sighting if he's active. This is a lock for me at the Packers at minus 13.5. The Jags are hoping the Jets fall into a win or two so they can be in the Trevor sweepstakes. To me, this is just a top 5 NFL team versus a bottom 5 NFL team. The Packers are 2 touchdowns better at least. If this line moved to 14.5, I might consider taking Jacksonville because I don't see Matt LaFleur as being that Andy Reid guy who would be willing to just run up the score on a bad defense. Like, shame on you for being bad. I'm going to beat the pants off you. I don't know if Matt LaFleur has that in him, but at 13.5, I'll take the Packers as a lock.
Yeah, I like the Packers too. They're just like you said. It's top 5 versus a bottom 5 team. Green Bay should run them off the field. 2 teams that should also be run off the field are the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. This entire division stinks. The Eagles with a win could go to 4-4-1 and just have a stranglehold on the division.
Yeah,
they're giving the Giants 4. I brought up the Giants are 6-3 against the spread this year. They look like they're playing real tough for Joe Judge. I'm taking the Giants with the 4 points here, Jimmy.
Yeah, this actually swung another point over a day. Last night it was -3, and I had the Eagles, but at -4, I really want to take the Giants, but I'm going to stick with the Eagles. But this is one of those games we definitely want to watch because you really did a great job deep diving the teams against the spread. So I'll be very curious to see if the Giants cover this. I don't know how this game plays out, but I think the Eagles, if they have any fire in them, this is a game you have to win because it does give them a stranglehold on the division.
Yeah, and just for pride's sakes, it at least stops you're a division winner with a losing record. Like, it at least takes those jokes out of the picture for a little while.
Yeah, I really do think this is a field goal game. So I like the Giants at +4. No, fuck it. I'm doing it. I'm taking the Giants at +4. Because I feel like it's a field goal game.
That makes me feel crazy that I was able to talk you into that.
Yeah, because the Eagles stink and the Giants stink, and
I just
the whole
don't
division
know.
Stinks.
Carson Wentz is a quarterback in the NFL that should thank his lucky stars that Baker Mayfield gets so much attention. Because if Baker Mayfield didn't, he would face so much more criticism.
Yep. I absolutely agree with you.
I don't know. Maybe he's just not healthy and he's just never healthy. Maybe he's sort of like a kind of a Kawhi Leonard type NFL player where you get these brief runs where he's in perfect health and it's just like, oh my God. And then the rest of the time it's like, that guy looks like he's not right.
Yep. I agree.
All right. The surging Dolphins are hosting the LA Chargers, a team that I think needs a new coach. The Dolphins are only 1.5 point favorites here. I like the Dolphins as a lock. They look like they got a little mojo going for them right now.
Yeah, this will be a consensus lock for us because I also have the Dolphins as a lock. I think this game will be fun and exciting, but I think the Dolphins are just a bit more disciplined. And as weird as it is to say, and as much as it stinks for Chargers fans, I think Brian Flores is already a better situational and overall head coach than Anthony Lynn. And I think that makes a difference in a 1.5 point spread.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Tua will have another chance to make the Dolphins look really smart because the Chargers defense, they're very injured and the pieces they have left have given up a little bit. So I think Tua will look really good. But like you've talked about it a little more than me, but also I'm excited to continue to watch Justin Herbert's quick success. Like, even though they've been in losses, it's been fun to watch. But it's crazy to me that the Dolphins are going to move to 6-3 and really have a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah, Herbert's great. The rest of the Chargers can pretty much be at least right now, with Eckert out of the backfield. They desperately need him back.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Keenan Allen is having a quiet, good season though. So
Is he? I haven't. I've kind of not been paying attention to
it's
fantasy
been the
because both
garbage.
my teams fell apart.
It's been all the garbage time yards, but
Hey, somebody's got to catch the ball from Herbert.
yep, absolutely.
All right, this is a contender for game of the week here.
Yeah.
Arizona is hosting Buffalo. The Bills are 2-0 in the NFC West coming into this contest, including a
Yep.
big win over Seattle last week. The Cardinals lost that wild game to Miami. How should our audience approach this game at the betting window?
Man, this is just a huge marquee game for the week. Two up and coming superstar QBs, two up and coming teams trying to make headway in their divisions. And I just feel like Buffalo is better than Arizona. The line is still at 2.5, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo at 2.5. I think they win outright, and the money line is sitting at plus 180, so that's a money line bet for me as well. I love this line though. It is there are times Vegas does this, and I love it. I love the money line. I love the line at 2.5 because that's forcing you to decide who you think will win the game,
Yeah.
and I love that. And it's two even teams. I just think a lot of what Buffalo did last week will carry over, although they are the team traveling across the country this week. So maybe this week they come out flat like Seattle did last week. So I am curious to watch that, but I think this game is high scoring and exciting. Arizona's going to score points. I'm excited for the Patrick Peterson versus Stephon Diggs matchup.
Yep.
I just think this is going to be a great football game, but I'm taking the Bills.
I will take the Cardinals for
Okay.
all of the reasons that you just said. I just lean a little more on the. I think that big emotional win over Seattle and then traveling cross country to take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals had that loss last week. I think they know they need to get a win this week.
Yeah.
I think we might see one or two trick plays from them
Yeah.
if they get down, 10-14 early. I expect to see them try and do something to generate an extra possession, steal a touchdown, just something. I feel like this is a game they know they need to win.
I would say it's something to watch too for Arizona. DeAndre Hopkins did not have a good game last week. He wasn't fed the ball very much. I imagine this week in practice, they probably drew up a lot of stuff to get DeAndre Hopkins the football, so he'll probably get fed a lot this week.
Nice. Our next game is the Raiders hosting the Broncos. Las Vegas is favored by 3.5. This is the first game between these two teams, and that's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm taking the Raiders as a lock at
Ooh.
3.5. They're going to move to 6-3 in that same group with the Dolphins and Browns fighting for the playoffs in the AFC. The only thing I would say, is if they let Drew Lock stick around, he might do some more fourth quarter damage. But I think Gruden will have his team ready to play disciplined and not go soft prevent in the fourth, because that's what Drew Lock has been feasting on the last 2 weeks. But I just think the Raiders are the better team all the way around. I think the Raiders win this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I think they do too. I'm not making it a lock, but I do like them in this situation. Our next contender for game of the week, the LA Rams, the Seattle Seahawks. NFC West implications galore. The Rams are favored by 2.5 points, Jimmy.
Yep.
That surprised me.
But I mean, Seattle has looked weak the last 2 weeks.
They have.
They haven't been able to get it done against a couple of bad defenses, and now you're playing a decent defense. So, in my opinion, this is the marquee game of the week. My Rams have the Seahawks coming to town and are giving points, but that doesn't matter because this is the penultimate make Jared Goff look like a first overall draft pick game, and the Rams win this thing by a field goal. So I'm taking the Rams.
Ooh, we disagree again. I'm taking Seattle and making it a lock.
Wow, no!
Russell Wilson's not losing back-to-back weeks. Like this,
Ooh.
I'm betting on Russell Wilson rising to the occasion.
Nothing wrong with that. This will be a game I talk a lot about also when we get to fantasy. But I think the Rams have the weapons to capitalize on everything Seattle does poorly, which is why I picked the Rams to win the division in the first place. Russ has to get back on track before I pick him in a big game again. And this is a big game. Like, this is a huge game.
Oh yeah.
If the Rams win, they'll be even at 6-3. And it just, man, the NFC is going to be wild coming down to the wire. Now, all that being said, if Seattle goes into LA and just beats the doors off of the Rams because Jared Goff can't capitalize on a horrible defense, I would not be surprised, because I think much like with Baker and Carson, the same could be said for Jared Goff, because he's looked pretty pedestrian this year as well. Because of that, I'm also going to hedge my pick by taking a money line bet of plus 105. Like, if you bet $20 on Seattle just to win a football game, they'll hand you $105.
Yeah,
So
that's a good bet.
So I would stress everybody to make that bet out there.
Yeah. The team at the bottom of the NFC West is San Francisco. They're traveling to the Saints. They're going to try and even their record to 500. The 49ers are looking to even their record to 500. Yeah. They are traveling to the New Orleans Saints. They're going to get 9.5. That's a big spread, Jimmy.
It is. I'm taking the 49ers at 9.5. That's just too many points. There's a lot going on to me in this football game. You know, I have really been watching, like, teams that are having to travel more than like 2 or 3 states have struggled early and have looked flat. So I am going to keep an eye on that for this game as well. But I think this line is full of recency bias, as well as the odds makers feeling like the last couple weeks proves they were right about liking the Saints so much early in the season. I don't think the Saints are good enough to have 2 big blowout wins in a row. I think Kyle is a great coach. He's going to have his team battling, and they'll keep it to within a touchdown. I truthfully believe that. And I'm also going to throw $20 on the 49ers money line at plus 350, because to me that's too juicy to stay away from, considering this is a prime candidate for a letdown game after what they just did to Tom Brady, what the Saints just did to Tom Brady. So I'm taking the 49ers with 9.5. That's just too many points for me.
This will probably start a string of weeks for me where I bet against the Saints. Last year, 2 seasons ago, 2 or 3 seasons ago, I had Drew Brees as my fantasy quarterback, and it was just past the midpoint of the season where he really started to tail off.
Yep.
And it starts with the Saints not covering spreads. They'll get wins, and that's kind of how they've been this year.
Yeah.
I think this is a game that the Saints probably win, but I think, as you said, I think this ends up being like a field goal game.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Drew Brees moving forward, but this is around the time that it's important to start looking at the spreads. If they're gonna show, Brees looked good the last 2-3 weeks, if they're gonna give you that extra 2-3 points on a line, just go the other way and just cash the checks, man.
Yep. And I would say too, with how weird I would not, from watching football in the NFC this year, I would not think the New Orleans Saints are one of the 3 best teams in the NFC. But right now, they are real close to the number 1 seed in the NFC. If Drew Brees struggles, I would not be surprised to see Sean Payton go way more Taysom Hill action. Just in this wonky year, I could see Sean Payton doing some galaxy brain shit to try to capitalize on the season.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think the Saints are better than we thought. I think it's the other contenders in the NFC have flaws that are worse than we had anticipated.
I would agree with that.
Our next game, speaking of covers, the Pittsburgh Steelers look to stay undefeated. They are going to host our boy Backdoor Cover Joe. This is only a 7-point spread. I think Vegas is on to Joe Burrow, man.
Yeah, but I'm taking that 7 points as a lock.
Oh, I am too.
That's awesome. Nothing was impressive about the Steelers against one of the bottom 5 teams in the league last week. The Bengals offense is good enough to hang, And the Steelers' offense isn't going to pull away. We've talked about how every year the Steelers tend to play down to their competition, and I could see them not taking this game seriously as Burrow punches their defense right in the mouth. Like, Joe Burrow thinks his team is undefeated and he's going to the Super Bowl. Like, that's how he plays every week. And I love that about him. I hope he never loses that. Bengals quarterbacks tend to lose that as life goes on. I mean, you can see it in Carson Palmer's face. Like, you can just see what that did to him. But I think the Bengals will keep this to a touchdown. It'll probably end up being a push, but a push isn't a lock or isn't a loss. So I'll take the +7 as a lock.
Okay, I misunderstood you. I'm taking Pittsburgh and making it a lock.
What? No. No way.
I think Joe Burrow has Pittsburgh's defense full attention.
Really?
It's in their character under Mike Tomlin to show up one week against a crappy opponent and look terrible and then come back and just dominate a divisional foe. They'll know they need this game. It's important for tiebreakers. I think the first is divisional, or is it conference for the tiebreakers for the bye?
It would be divisional, yeah.
Yeah. This is a game that they'll be paying attention. They're not going to drop two stinkers in a row.
Oh, yes, they are.
Well, I hope you're right.
Right. To all of our listeners, we want the Bengals to just win this football game.
That'd be fantastic. Another AFC North competitor, the Baltimore Ravens. They are traveling to New England. They're taking on the Patriots. They're also giving 7. And Jimmy, I'm also making Baltimore a lock.
Yeah, all of my locks are here at the end this week as opposed to at the front end last week. Kick the Patriots some more, throw some more dirt on them. The Ravens got a little bit of their identity back last week. You know, if Lamar isn't good at just standing in the pocket and making throws, stop trying to force that on him. Or if it's him doing it to himself, either way, stop it, use your natural abilities, and do what you do. I don't see how the Patriots can sustain drives against this defense. I don't know why this line's only 7. I would take this as Baltimore to lock at -10. Like, I don't know why this line is only 7 points. This is just Vegas being nice to Belichick, and I'm happy for it. Like, I don't understand at all. I do not get it.
Yeah, this is in my list of moneyline parlay teams.
Yeah.
I just don't see Baltimore losing this game.
No.
New England should have lost. If Joe Flacco dumps that fourth quarter pass off in the flat to his running back, who had a good 10 yards of open field in front of him, instead of throwing a bomb into double coverage, the Jets win that game. And hey, if we're gonna throw dirt on New England, let's just keep it going. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Our last game of the week is Minnesota and Chicago. Minnesota is 3-5, and they're favored on the road, and the Bears are 5-4. Is this just we've seen Delvin Cook the last 2 weeks be Delvin Cook, and we think he's going to do it again?
Yeah. Is the line still at 3?
Yeah, it was as of about an hour and a half ago.
Okay, so I'm taking the Vikings as a lock at -3. And to tell you how confident I am in that, I'm also going to bet the Bears money line at +130. Like, I want to believe that with Dalvin Cook healthy, everything is just better for the Vikings. The Vikings may move to 4-5, almost back to 500. But with Bears games, we just don't know. Like, I still don't have a grasp on when the Bears defense is going to play with no energy or when they're going to look like the monsters of the Midway. Like, I just don't know. I don't know with Foles, which Foles is going to show up. Who's going to get the football? Like, I don't know how to handle the Bears this year.
Yeah, which is what scares me is that I picked against the Bears. So they'll probably win by 3 touchdowns now.
Yeah.
We'll have no idea. Just come back like, what the hell's going on with the Bears?
Yep.
Week 10 here for fantasy. Players are getting ready for the playoffs. Who do you like is for guys to get people into the playoffs in these last couple of weeks here?
All right. So, unless the wheels totally fall off, this should be the week you've been waiting for if you drafted Rams pass catchers. Bobby Trees has been touchdown dependent. Cooper Cup has been PPR dependent, but not a lot of yards or touchdowns. This should be the week to stream Jared Goff, pick him up off your waiver wire, or put him in your lineup. I know he's been on your bench all year, but go ahead and put him in. Start Bobby Trees and Cooper Cup with full confidence. They could both be top 5 wide receiver plays this week. On the flip side of that game, Jalen Ramsey, he might do a little bit of shadow coverage on DK Metcalf, so that's just going to be fun football to watch. But because of that, I think I like Tyler Lockett a little more. I wouldn't fade Lockett. I would definitely get some people benched him because he had like a 40-point week and then like a 2-point week. Well, this probably be closer to a 40-point week for him. So if you have the stars for the Green Bay Packers, here's what I'm going to tell you. I think Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams will both have a huge first half. They should probably be in some of your DFS lineups as a stack. But then you should also probably get Jamal Williams. If you need a running back stream, I would pick him up because, like I said, I think the Packers are just going to dominate this football game. And in the second half, you're going to see the backup salt the game away. Now, as much as I don't want to talk about this football game, for either of these two teams, I think Miles Sanders and Antonio Gibson could end up being like RB1 and RB2 this week. I like both of their matchups.
And nobody will see any of it.
Yeah, I won't see it, but it could happen. We talked about, we saw what Dalvin Cook did to Detroit. So there's certainly a path there for Antonio Gibson. And if Miles Sanders goes just apeshit crazy against the Giants, I would not be surprised at all on that one. Go ahead. If he's still on your IR, go ahead and get Nick Chubb fired up and in your lineups.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about that. And then one player, though, on the flip side of that I'm kind of fading, Duke Johnson for the Texans has been a big waiver wire ad for a lot of teams, and I'm not expecting it. The Texans have never known how to use him. Hell, the Browns didn't know how to use him. I don't think he'll have that large of a role as people are expecting. I would probably go some other routes at running back. Now, that being said, I love Houston's pass catchers in this game. Get Brandon Cooks in your DFS and your season-long lineups. And if you need season-long streamer help this week, I like Randall Cobb. I think he's going to run a lot of the underneath routes, and the Browns linebackers are terrible. I think that's a good option there. And then, like, after the big name guys of Jared Goff, Josh Allen, and Deshaun Watson, if you need a streaming quarterback this week, I think it's probably Baker Mayfield. Like, I think Baker, this is a great matchup. I don't think they're going to throw the ball a lot, but he should be able to be efficient and get some touchdowns. I also like Herbert and Tua this week. If I had any of these options, I would start them over Lamar. I don't think Lamar's going to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to do a lot of running. So those are probably guys I'm really looking at to kind of give you that big win this week that you're going to need. Except for Alvin Kamara, I am kind of fading everyone in the Niners-Saints game because I don't know what that game flow is going to look like. It could be a shootout, or it could be Latavius Murray gets 25 touches. Like, I just don't know what that game is going to look like. And then other than Dalvin Cook, I don't want any part of the Bears-Vikings.
A random thing I've noticed when I was looking into Miami, their defense is playing excellent the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If they're out there and they're cheap, that's a nice play for your daily.
Yeah,
with a rookie quarterback, Anthony Lynn's involved. It seems like they randomly get touchdowns on defense more than other teams. I can't explain it, but maybe.
Yeah. And something else I do want to talk about because, we talk about it a little bit for us guys that have played, season-long fantasy football for 20-plus years now. We talk about how defenses and kickers don't really matter. Defenses really, really don't matter when you're making a DFS lineup. Like,
really?
unless you have, like, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense playing this year's New York Jets, paying for defense is silly. Okay, people? The whole point in DFS, every position you pay, you want them to score 3 times the amount of points of what you paid for them. So the play this week is the Rams. They're probably going to give up 50 points, but they're also probably going to get sacks and interceptions because that's what happens in blowout games where there's a lot of points and a lot of plays ran. And they're only $2,000 on DraftKings. They're going to give you somewhere
Thank you for
around
joining
8 to
us,
10
and
points.
we'll see you next
So
time.
you got your value out of it, and it gives you more money to spend elsewhere. So that is just a little DFS defense PSA for everybody out there.
How much is Miami, out of curiosity?
Defense really doesn't matter at all. What was that?
I'm just curious. What's Miami cost-wise?
You know what? I didn't even look because I just go down to the lowest team and I pick that team. Whichever defense is $2,000, that's who I pick. So they're probably
Every
in
week.
they're probably in like the $3,000 to $3,500 range.
Oh yeah, if that's the difference, then definitely forget what I said about Miami. Go with the Rams.
But that's still though. But if you can get value, like if you're playing like 10 or 20 lineups and you've got some value lineups at court, like if you throw Baker in at quarterback and do like an Antonio Gibson game and you've got some money, then by all means, Miami's defense is a great, great play. But if you want the studs at the top of your lineup, go cheap on defense always.
I concur with you, Jimmy. This is the dirty secret, is I've never played daily fantasy. I think it's like playing the lottery.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it is.
Unless you have a system set up where you're placing, like 2,000 lineups and all the stuff that you can do with computers, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. There's just better bets to be made.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much like, I love the cash games because there's less people. Like it might be a $10 cash game where there's only 100 people in it, and like the top 3 people cash, something like that. Like I like that. The big tournaments, they're always won by people running algorithms pretty much, because like when you look at the Millie Maker lineups, there's always a couple names that make sense, and then some of the other plays are like, never in a million years would have I made this combination on my own.
Yeah, and that's where, those guys are probably, you get a computer and you have the backing, you can get into, say, 5,000, 100, 100-person things, and you're also going to put in however many lineups, and computers are just making projections, so it's all just stabs in the dark. You only have to hit 50 plus 1.
Yep.
Anything else for our listeners out there, Jimmy, to stay safe this weekend?
Not really. I would definitely take our advice on some of these money line bets. I think there's a lot of juicy ones out there, and I think this is a week where you could definitely like pick out about 3 or 4 of these money line games and bet $100 and probably make $400 or $500. Like I don't understand not betting the Seahawks money line. Like, yeah, that's just like I love the Rams.
You are not going to get many chances to bet on Russ Wilson as an underdog, so you should probably take those chances.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win the game, but it's not hard to see an outcome where Seattle wins because Russ is great, and go ahead and win your $100. Like that just seems like a super easy money line bet. I love the Bills money line at plus 125. The Washington football team at plus 180. I mean, beating the Lions, that wouldn't surprise anybody. So.
And I got to be honest, that's where I've been making my money the last few weeks. My against the spread picks have been atrocious, but I'm treading water because of cheap money line parlays that I've been able to put together.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's some juicy money lines out there, but I'm just excited for football this week. There are some seriously big boy football games that are going to affect playoff standings this week, and I'm excited for it.
As am I. Jimmy, thank you for joining me.
There's no place I'd rather be, brother.
All righty. Well, thank you for listening, and everybody out there, stay safe, stay out of the casts, and we'll see you next time.